The traditional music of Iran is one of the central parts of every Iranian's life. We grew up listening to tar, setar, santur, and tombak, instruments that look and sound foreign for most other cultures. The world of Iranian traditional music has more than 3,000 years of history behind it. And in this video, I want to tell you the short version of the story and history of this magical art form. And by the end of this video, you're gonna know why this music matters so much. If you like music, history, culture, or all of it at once, buckle up and let's get going. The history of music stretches as far back as the history of mankind, and so it's natural that some of the most ancient depictions of music that have ever been found were in the Persian plateau, the cradle of some of the oldest civilizations. For example, this seal that was discovered from the ancient Elam civilization shows an important scene. People together playing different instruments, one playing a rudimentary form of a harp, one playing a drum-like instrument, and one with a horn. This seal is the oldest known depiction of a group playing music together, and it's only one of the depictions of music found from Elam. There were also other neighboring civilizations where music was present, like Babylon, Assyria, and Sumer. For example, one of the oldest songs ever discovered was from the Sumerian civilization. It's a celebration of drinking etched on clay tablets.
Gakule, 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 Lamsare. Gakule nig urshag shage, lamsare nig shahul hule, ugerba nege ametebi shag.
As time goes on, musicians earn a special place among the powerful Indian civilizations. In Elam, the king has a dedicated group of musicians in his court, and they were held in high regard. Even after the Assyrians attack the Elamite, their king doesn't kill the musicians, and in fact, he takes them under his own service. And that is the pattern that we're gonna see for centuries to come. The pattern where civilization, a dynasty, a king conquers Iran, but they go easy on the musicians after each war, and music finds its place in the new structure of power. Until it doesn't. We'll get to that part in a bit. What we see in the ancient Elam civilization in the end is a clear dedicated place for the musicians in the court of the king, among other forms of performances like dance, acrobatics, and sportsmanship. With the end of the Elamites and the beginning of the Achaemenid Empire, we can see the development of another type of music, music of war. Many of the instruments discovered from this era are different kinds of air horns that probably were used to signal war commands or to intimidate the enemy. The Greeks have described the sound of these horns, and even half a century later, the Romans described the Parthians with their overwhelming sound of war drums. Another form of music that we can see from this time up until the end of the Sassanid era is the character of the free-roaming musician who goes around singing praises of the past kings, heroes, and myths called ghosns. Now, one of the most glorious eras of Persian music is during the time of King Khosrow of Sassanid. During his time, with his great attention to music, we have musical theorists like Barbad, who developed extensive types of musical modes and up to 360 melodies. You can still see some signs of this system in today's traditional Iranian music theory. But after the Sassanids, with the Arab conquest of the 7th century, the music scene changed a bit. Musicians still remain a valuable asset for the caliphate and the local rulers. There are stories that shows that we'll see people send musicians to other elites as a gift. Another important part of the development of Iranian music happened during the Golden Age of Islam during the Abbasid Caliphate. During this time, by translating the Greek knowledge, scholars adapted the music of Greek to the instruments of their land, and with this, many Iranian scholars started theorizing music and treating it as a part of mathematics. Famous names like Ibn Sina, who even talk about the healing effects of music, and Farabi, who could himself play instruments and authored books on musical theory. As the sun of the Arab world is about to set, the pattern that I mentioned happens again. With the Mongol invasion, a dark time in the history of Iran begins. However, this time the Mongols see the value of musicians and music theorists among other scholars and cultural figures and leave them mostly unharmed. That shows how important it was to have the support of the ruling powers for the development of music, or development of anything, to be honest. The same thing happens during the 14th century with the conquest of Timur, where the conquerors only capture the musicians and keep them safe. During the Timurid Empire, we see the final chapter of the glory of Persian music, the time when music was still held among the highest of art. Each small lord would have their own banquets with the presence of musicians and poets and calligraphers, mostly in lavish gardens of Herat. But at this point in history, Iranian music goes into a free fall. With the beginning of the Safavid dynasty in the 16th century, the first ruler Safavids, as per usual, doesn't harm the musicians and gathers them in Tabriz, their first capital. It's all good so far, but everything goes sideways when the Safavid lose the city of Tabriz to the Ottomans. Very quickly, the majority of the musical prominence of Iran is lost, while the Ottomans now could enjoy a rapid rise in their music. And to make the matters worse, the Safavid king Tahmasp prefers the company of the Shia Muslim clergymen, and this religious man very strictly opposed to music and associated music with sin and degeneracy. And so the clergyman did something that grips the Iranians' view toward music even until now. They write treatises separating good God-loving music like Taziyeh Khani and eulogies from bad degenerate music. And so the music of Iran goes from being a grand form of art that was food for the human soul, as theorized by Ibn Sina, and from being a form of mathematics to being viewed as a low way of pleasure seeking and godless amusement. All of a sudden, using musical instruments was banned. Many of the musicians were fired from the court, and many among them were killed and their instruments were destroyed. Many of the artists were oppressed and fell victim to censorship. Because of all the pressure, many of the remaining Iranian artists immigrated to India in this time. But after Shah Tahmasp, music started to pick up again. The other Safavid kings were not as strict, and some could even play a few instruments. Musicians were invited to the court again, but the damage was already done. The prestige that music used to have in Iran was now broken, no longer taken seriously enough, and musicians weren't seen as high artists anymore. After the Safavids and during the Qajar dynasty, we see the prominent presence of women in the music of the court. During the court of Fath Ali Shah, groups of women were trained to play music, dance, and do acrobatic moves for the entertainment of the court. This development of court music was taken to the highest form during the time of the most famous Qajar king, Nasiruddin Shah. In his time, there were orchestras of women who played only for the king in his bedchambers during his more intimate times with the women. He himself depicted the orchestra in a drawing. At this time, little by little, we can see the effects of Western music on the music of Iran. The first part of Iranian music that was completely taken over by Western music and instruments was the orchestra of the army. After that, the official music education in Iran actually begins with the teachings of a Western musician. Alfred Lumer becomes the first Western music teacher and writes his own book of music education, which becomes the first Western music theory book in Iran. At the same time, piano comes to Iran for the first time and becomes a favorite instrument among the court to learn. All of this Western development makes Iranian instruments lose their place little by little as the dominant form of Iranian music. Also, it's during this time that technology changes the world of music forever. New devices to record music were invented and produced by the West and were imported to Iran, a technology that soon improved a lot into the form of vinyl music, allowing musicians to record their music, including traditional Iranian instruments like the tar of Mirza Abdullah. That was a big step towards bringing music out of the limits of the court among all the people in the society. Also, because of the political scene of Iran at that time, people got to hear more Iranian music than normal. During the constitutional revolution of Iran, the budget of the court was cut and so the musicians started playing during the meetings of different political parties. Performances that soon turned into public concerts selling tickets to people. After the fall of the Qajar dynasty comes one of the final acts of the history of Iranian traditional music with the beginning of the reign of Reza Shah of the Pahlavi dynasty. Reza Shah became famous as the king who forced Iran into Western modernity, and music was also affected by that. During the beginning of the 20th century, the first dedicated school for music started working, a school that through years changed its methods many times. For some years, they would only teach Iranian traditional music, and in another period, they would pack away all Iranian instruments and only teach the Western classical music, before it would finally settle on a middle ground of incorporating Western and Iranian music all together in the music education. After the Islamic Revolution, many forms of music were very limited. It's only in the past few decades that the music scene is getting a little bit more open, and it's still hard for a woman to have a stable footing as a musician in Iran, much harder than a man. I mean, you could say that about everything in Iran today. Still, with all the difficulty, we had the pleasure of enjoying the music of masters like Kamanche Kamkar, Ney Kasai, Santur Meshkatian, Tar Lotfi, and the magical voice of the one and only Mohammad Reza Shajarian. Honestly, one of my hobbies is watching the videos where singers and musicians react to Shajarian singing.
That detached. Whoa! What? was unbelievable.
If you have ever listened to Iranian traditional music, I would love to know about your experience and what you think about it down in the comments. Overall, what I'm thankful for is that through all the twists and turmoil of the history of Iranian music, the beautiful sound of traditional music of Iran never died. It survived until our age, so we would be able to enjoy it, learn the magic of playing it, and learn the theory behind it that was developed from 2 millennia before until now. It's a joy to see still how many Iranian children decide to learn traditional Iranian music and they don't let this music be ever forgotten. And that's not all I have for you. The world of Iranian musical instruments, it's a marvel to see. In the next couple of videos, I'll be showing you some of the main instruments that we play in Iran in more details. So if you don't want to miss those videos, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, if you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate if you click the like button under the video as well. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video.